Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson, a.k.a. the Prince of Positivity, a.k.a. Ill Phil, a.k.a. the illest, a.k.a. I got Austin, Texas on my leg, and I'm back. We're back with a bonus episode. So if you follow along on Positive Philter, you know that I'm taking a release episode break to tighten up and learn how to become a better podcaster, but I know it keeps calling me like crack cocaine. I cannot stop podcasting. So I guess it's not a good thing to say for a positivity episode, but
it's a good addiction.
But Christie and I are back with a bonus episode for the listeners to keep them engaged and hopefully keep you listening and ready to come back, or ready for the comeback in August. So Christie and I, most recently, obviously Team Positivity, aka Wellbeing, are one of the leaders, self-appointed leaders of well-being and positivity at our current place of employment. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to really care about well-being and positivity, but not just in the terms of sunshine and rainbows, but just how to be very thoughtful and strategic about how we live our lives in a positive manner. Like what are we doing that's actually not just saying the world is great, what tangible things are we doing to make a positive work environment? And we've taken it upon ourselves to do that, and that's why me and Christy vibe. She helped me with the podcast. But one thing that we wanted to do to take it a step further is we wanted to become educated on positivity and well-being. We know that there's a lot of study on this and that there's a real science to this. And so shout out to Lewis Forrest. He shared with us like a not cheap, but very inexpensive training that you can do at home. And it was called The Science of Happiness, taught by the Greater Good Center, which is in UC Berkeley. And I'm about to murder their names. The instructors were Detcher Kettner and
Emiliana.
Yes, thank you. We're just
gonna
call you we're gonna call you DK.
Giving you nicknames.
Yeah, Dr. DK and
Dr. Emiliana.
Dr. Emiliana. Yeah, straight up. And
this was a course out of EDX, so you can download it on your phone. You can look it up on your computer. But it's a free course. But we actually paid $50 to get a certificate. So you could do a free version, or you can pay a small fee to get a certificate.
I think we paid $50 to get a printout, a PDF, to stunt on it.
And then we could add to our resume. Yeah, be sophisticated.
And stunt on people, because that's all I want to do in life is stunt. I don't know where I was going. I was saying that this is a real course. It's a real science. And we embarked on this course. I know what I was about to say. We were not endorsed by them, but if you want to holler at your boy for endorsements, you can. But we took this upon ourselves to learn, and we thought it was some easy course, but once we enrolled for $50, it was very detailed, and it took a
lot of content.
A lot of content, and it took us. It really did actually help me have a greater understanding of what is going on when you do positive, purposeful actions. How there is a biological, neurological, emotional benefit to this, like. Being a positive person is not just for, as I say, sunshine and rainbows. It actually makes you a healthier person. It actually makes the community around you better. It actually has tangible science, testable, and I think they call it the science of happiness because while it's infusing, religion and thought and all that stuff, they brought numbers and facts and actual scientific data that showed when they did these experiments with different exercises that it actually worked. So I found that really enjoyable.
And this was a topic that we both are driven to learn more about. I think it's very useful for my personal life and also for my interactions with my friends and families to help remind people and to show people other ways that they can help get themselves out of a slump, or to encourage them to continue doing good works, to volunteer, to build relationships, be mindful, little things that can help increase your overall happiness that we learned from the course.
Yeah, so we thought it would be a good idea to do a recap of the course, kind of detailing section by section. They broke it up into like 8 weeks with different sections. Section by section, maybe just, we're not going to give you a whole overview. We want you to take the class. We want to encourage you, but just maybe the main takeaways that we had from this class. A little bit of wrap up of what we thought about the overall course in general, which is going to be all positive reviews. We're not hating on nobody. I think I don't even want to say it right now, my only negative critique is that I couldn't be there in person. I think that I love the content, but I struggle with online learning. I definitely would have loved to have these two instructors as real professors in my face. I think we would be friends.
They were so passionate in their videos and in their instructions, how intentional they were with the whole setup of the course, that I really enjoyed it. But I would agree, getting to meet them in person and learn in person would be really cool, just because they're so passionate about their craft and how much they really put into studying each of these items that they addressed in the course. And
I feel like they just look like chill people. Like, I think, me, I say everyone's going to be my friend. Me, I'd probably if I went to their class, I'd be their friend by the end of the class. They look like they were smiling, they were happy. Obviously, I know that they have struggles. He even, DK even shared that he had a recent struggle losing his brother. So, obviously, just because they study happiness don't mean that their lives are perfect, but they seem like they just exude, positive energy, and they're just nice. They look like just nice people. So,
and the only other disclaimer I would want to put about the course is that if you're about to enroll in it, really pay attention to your timeline of work and what you have going on in your personal life, because there is a lot of content. It's really good material, and if you want to get the most out of the course, I highly encourage that you read everything, watch every video, and don't cut corners, because it's really useful knowledge that you can learn, but it does take a lot of time commitment that you have to intentionally set aside each day of 8 weeks. So it does take a while, but it's worth it.
And we're going to talk about, I didn't cut corners, but I also procrastinated like I felt like I was high school Phil again. We have our differences in approach, and Christie is way more organized than I am, and she got her notes right now. She's planned out, and I was to the wire. But I did watch. I thought, like, I agree with Christy. Like, it's only going to be what you get out of the course if you actually watch the videos or do the reading. I shared actually after I would read an article that I really liked or resonated with me, I would share that with my friends that are not even taking the course. So, like I said, the content was excellent. So, are we ready to go section by section?
Yeah, we'll start off with the first chapter, which they kind of gave an overview for the course and what happiness, how to define happiness, which they talked about. Can be seen as life satisfaction and a positive effect on your subjective well-being.
Yeah, I don't remember exercise, but the main thing I took away from that was that there is a difference between, I guess, overall happiness and purpose. I don't know. I think, what was it? That there was one where they said the difference is, okay, like, there's certain things that, like, make you happy in the moment, right? Like, just instantaneous moment, like, not hedonistic, but things
they
that,
talked
like,
about your emotions in that moment,
yeah,
right?
in that moment. And then there's greater things where sense of purpose and things like that.
Your overall well-being, overall satisfaction.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that you feel good all the time. I think that was the main difference I took away from there, is that, like, just because you study happiness or well-being or positivity doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy all the time. Now, even in the struggle of pursuing a meaningful life, there's struggle. I think they're trying to make a difference between those two. But I think the thing that I got from the course is that you'll be, generally overall happier in the pursuit of happiness rather than not.
Mm-hmm. My biggest takeaway was that from this chapter was that your happiness is 50% genetics, 10% life circumstances, and 40% is what we can control.
And that's a lot of percentage if you think about 40%. Like, I think one of the things that we always, one of the guys, I listen to a lot of motivational speakers, and there's this dude named Icky Johnson. I follow him. I actually found him from the John Gordon course. He was one of the guest speakers. And he's an NFL player, but I think something happened to his arm. And yeah. But the thing that he said was that, okay, life is chaos. Like, things are going to happen to you. Like, there's no avoidance of that. But what you have control is your reaction to that stuff. And so I think that approach is, like, just because you're going to be in pursuit of being well and positive doesn't mean that your life is going to be easier. It's that 40% that you just have your control of your reaction to it. And so that gives you a lot of power if you think about it. Like, okay, maybe I'm predisposed to this depression. Maybe I already have a chemical imbalance and I'm going to be depressed. And that's just the way it is. Or maybe nature versus nurture, right? Like, maybe the environment that I'm growing up in, just the way it is like I was born poor. I was born in a dangerous neighborhood, whatever. That's a factor. But that giving yourself that I still, regardless of the genetics of, my mental, my brain chemistry, no matter the environmental factor, I still have 40% is still in my power. And that should empower a lot of people to say, okay, what can I do? What can I reframe in my brain? What tools can I access to live a better life?
What can I intentionally do to change how happy I am?
Yes.
And I think that's really important to remember that 40% is in your control, but 50% of it is your genetics.
Yeah.
So it's really eye-opening for me when I'm looking at other people around me to not compare my happiness to someone else's happiness because everyone's genetic buildup is different.
Yeah, I mean, we all have different baselines. I think they talked about that too. Set point. Dang, okay, so here's the thing. Christy knows the real numbers. I just be like telling when I recap this stuff in my layman's terms. Christy coming here with the real
because I have my notes because I can't remember it unless I write it down.
Well, I know set points or whatever, say baseline is like, okay, naturally people call me a positive person, so my set point might be different than yours, right? Like, my natural baseline of being a happy, positive person is different. But it doesn't mean, regardless of our different set points, I can still increase or decrease. Like, what I've learned too is that, like, when I go through a really hard situation, my normal level of happiness is going to drop. But if I am a naturally positive person, my set point is going to bring me back to my natural set point. And then someone else that's more of a negative person, they got to be just more active about it. Like, it's almost like someone that has to work out harder than someone else to lose weight. Doesn't mean you both of y'all had the opportunity to lose weight, and that might be easier for someone than others.
Right, and there's no right or wrong. It's just to have the awareness and to learn from your situations and learn from yourself to be able to move forward.
And an individual approach. Like you said that correctly, like your comparison to others. Like, if you were trying to do a diet and work out and one of your friends is doing the same exact diet, it might be so many factors that makes it different. That person might lose 20 pounds in the first week and you might lose only 5, and you're going to be like, am I not good or whatever? I'm not. You'll have different set points. So it's an individual approach and it's an individual prescription. Like, so in regards to these things we learned for the class, they're general suggestions for everybody, but you got to take what is applicable to you. What
works with you, exactly. And for that week, the homework activity was to pick out 3 good things in your day. So that's something really easy. I actually keep a journal by my bedside, and I try my hardest, and I'll put it on my pillow before I leave for work in the morning so that when I come back home before bed, I have that notebook on my pillow, and I can't go to bed until I open up the journal and write down 3 good things that happened in my day. What
I use is a shout out, shameless plug if you want to sponsor me. Yeah, I'm just going to keep on saying this, but shout out to 5 Minute Journal. I have one. I purchased 2, actually. Well, I purchased one. I liked it so much, I purchased another one. I keep it going. It's my daytime routine. And I like it so much that I purchased one for my sister, purchased one for my wife, and my best friend Hillard. It's the best thing I ever used. It's called the 5 Minute Journal. I think it's made or with this in mind, and so it helps me structure the exercise. So it makes you 3 days in the morning write what you're grateful for, 3 things that you're looking forward to, a daily affirmation like I am, and you fill in the blank. I kind of sometimes, and it doesn't have to be the same every day. And then at the end of the day, it says 3 things that you liked about that day, and then at least 1 thing that you could have done better. And it's not like one thing that made your day suck. It's just like one day that can make it better. And I remember when I was going through a really tough time, when I looked at my highlights to my highlights now, it's totally different. And I think that exercise, I think it was a tangible way for me, because I sometimes just randomly read it too and read my old entries. So
It's good to remind
5-minute journal.
yourself.
I think 5-minute journals, and so the 5-minute journal is basically an exercise that incorporates that 3 grateful things.
And so then moving on to the second chapter, this one talks about social connections and
Yes.
how humanity was actually built to connect. They go back through evolution and how human tribes would not have survived without leaning on each other for survival.
Yes, basic community building things. Even nomads, when they traveled, they had to travel in packs. Strength in numbers. That's what we always know. And for me, I think there's 2 different aspects you can take away from this. I'm an extrovert. Surprise, y'all. But with that being said, I draw my energy from other people. And so I noticed that my mood is greatly affected by my social connection. And also, in general, when I align myself with my purpose and career, I definitely need a career that has an aspect of social connection into that job. I've had a job previously where I was just sitting behind a computer, scanning documents, and not even seeing people, and it was the most miserable job of my life. And I definitely agree. Like there's an aspect to social connection that not only for survival, but also just for feeling a connection to other shared experiences, shared struggles. That's why we know that there's so many things that work well. I think one of the examples in regards to, I don't know if there's a social connection about cooperation and stuff, is that Professor DK, I'm sorry if you hate this nickname, but it's going to be what it is because I don't want to murder your name. He examined how often, in regards to teamwork and cooperation, how often teammates high-five each other and slap each other on the butt and all that stuff. And he said that there was a direct correlation to physical contact and teamwork to winning teams. And I just thought about that too. Like, I remember specifically when me and Christie first started becoming team positivity, I had this like collaboration attitude, like whatever competition is, we're gonna win it. Like it was a competitive drive, but it was like a shared vision. Like I told people in our office, like I don't know, whatever awards we're
It
going.
was like a Twitter photo that we had to get the most likes.
I don't know. I don't care what it is. It's a
Yeah.
Twitter photo. It could be a Twitter photo. It could be a conference we're all going to. It could be like some random contest of like collecting cans or something. I want to win, but I don't want to win by myself. You know what I'm saying?
You need the strength of people around you.
That, and I just like to celebrate victories as a team. And I'm all about team sports, and I love team wins. It makes me feel so good because I feel like when we have a team win, I feel like, I don't know, like we can stun on people.
It's more fun to celebrate with a group than to celebrate by
Exactly.
yourself.
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, I ran track, and I liked the fact that the track team, I like the fact that when you do track meets, they totaled all the points, and we had team wins rather than individual.
So your win contributed to the overall win,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
could all celebrate your success, how that
Yeah.
helped bring the team to
Yeah,
a greater.
I love it. Like they had the ranking system. Like if you get first, the whole team gets 10 points. I love that, and so I love the fact that they even take individual sports and apply it to a team mentality. And I think that was a big one about that is social connection, collaboration, cooperation, all those different things, and how we can do greater together rather than alone.
Right, and they also talked about having empathy, that you should try to understand another person's feelings or their perspective to guide your actions. So that kind of helps you be more curious, to challenge your prejudices, discover any commonalities, and really listen to what the other person has to say. And then that can even lead to inspiring more people because you're able to see more perspectives and have a better understanding from a lens that is different than your own.
I like when he also stated there's a difference between empathy, sympathy, and pity. Empathy means putting yourself in someone's shoes. Sympathy means you can't really understand what they're going through and feeling sorry for them, and pity is just straight up looking down on someone. And so I think that I try to do the first one, empathy, and put myself in other people's shoes. And it definitely, as a person, it helps me help others better when I can see their perspective rather than outside of myself. And I think one of the greatest things, I don't know if it's a rap song, but like I think it was Pac or Biggie's, like, how can I hurt my brother if he's close to me. I don't know the song. I'm gonna have to quote that. But point is, if you have that empathetic feeling, like how can I hurt someone if I can see myself in that person? Like if I see all people as my brothers and sisters, then I definitely wouldn't hurt them, right? Like ideally, I mean, unless you're a real asshole. But you definitely like when you use empathy and you say, okay, if I view this person as a person, then I'm not going to be mean to them because I know how that feels. Like, you know how you put yourself in, it's like, I know that when people are mean to me, it doesn't feel good. So therefore, I'm not going to do that to someone else.
It can really change your thinking.
And yeah, what was the exercise for this one?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
can't remember that one.
I think it was teamwork or something.
Oh, that one was the active listening.
Okay, I'm bad at that. But I tried. I'm working on that one. I have to work on that with my wife all the time.
I think the active listening goes to your reading on the rock. What was it? Be a rock when you listen to someone?
Gray rock.
Gray rock, yeah. I think that's very similar to the concept of active listening.
I think it's also active. I mean, gray rock is more like active listening and also removing emotional reaction to stuff, like just listening and processing, and then don't respond with like feelings back. Respond back with like just, you know,
turn the page and
logic. Respond back with logic. But I think one of the things I learned for active listening is I'm really trying to work on it is save my questions. I get so impatient that I try to ask questions in the middle while someone else is talking. And sometimes if I just keep my mouth shut, they answer my questions before I ask them. And so I'm really working on that. Maggie, she knows that's like my biggest thing. I'm gonna give a shout out to Charlotte Strauss. She told me one tip that really helped with active listening is just reframe. Why am I talking right now? It's very simple to say that. And is this necessary? And if the most times if you say it's not necessary, then you realize that you're talking more than you're listening. But that's a good one. Active listening.
So the pro-social behaviors that I talked about in Chapter 2 lead to Chapter 3, how you can use empathy and gratitude to have more compassion and kindness.
Yes.
And they talk about how volunteering is good for your health. It helps you have a connection to the people around you and the community around you.
Service.
Service. Yep, giving.
I mean, straight up, this kind of goes to the aims of my fraternity. Shout out to Alpha. But our aims are, we're not aims. Our thing is, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. And so I really found that powerful to say, like, you know, servants of all, like, we shall transcend all, right? So when I think of that is that we are servants to the world. Through our service, we can all uplift each other, transcend, obviously. It's a very easy, simple thing to approach to look at life. And also, I realized that it's even in your own profession, no matter what, is like it gives you purpose. Like, for instance, when you say, how am I serving and insert the blank, you get a little bit more purpose, you get a little bit more drive and mission. So, like, for instance, if you're a basketball coach, right, and you're saying, how is my job as a basketball coach serving these young men? How am I serving the community with this actual role? And then you can see that, okay, as a basketball coach, I'm serving these young men by preparing them for not only life on the court, but off the court. I'm serving the community by, like, if we do win, we win. It gives the community something to rally around. If, you know, through this basketball team, it gives us a platform that maybe we can do community service and people will come to the community service because they know the basketball team is going to be there too. So if you look at a lot of your actions of, like, how does it serve others, it gives you a lot of, like, direction.
Service is sort of like paying it forward. When you talk about being a coach, my sister's a basketball coach. I have a lot of friends who grew up playing basketball and then go on to be basketball coaches because they want to pay it forward. They want to be the leader, the instructor, someone to help younger kids, just as they had a coach that was a good leader when they were playing.
Yeah, and I mean, all the greatest coaches. You know, one of my favorite coaches is Coach Dean Smith. Shout out to UNC, go Heels. And I think he took the approach that as a coach, he didn't want to just serve, you know, like win championships and just make good basketball players. He wanted to make good men. So he taught them life skills off the court. And one of the best stories I ever learned about him was that when he passed away, I think he divided something up, his money or something, and he had a fund, a trust fund or something. And so when he passed away, every single player that has ever played for him, walk on or not, got a note, some money, and said, go out to dinner and take your family out to dinner. I thought that was one of the most amazing things I ever heard. I need to find the actual quote or the thing, but I know it was something about giving back.
That's such a selfless act of kindness.
Even in death, he gave back, and I think that was one of the coolest things I ever heard. And in regards to that too, he found a way to say, I am going to serve these young men by not making sure they're just prepared for basketball, that they're prepared for life. And so I think it's like that objective of treating your whatever role that you got to do in a sense of how does this help someone else? How does this serve someone else?
How to transform their lives as opposed to just being a transactional coach and only helping them in that moment.
Yes, 100%.
And so the activity for week 3 was, I believe, have a random act of kindness.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is a super interesting way to work. I love doing random acts of kindness. I also think it's very contagious. When I see other people doing kindness, I want to go and do the same. If everyone's in the lunchroom and everyone's cleaning up and you're the only one sitting off in the corner, you're going to feel guilty not helping out. So it's contagious. You're going to want to start to help out as well.
I mean, I'm random as hell, so the Ill Feel Awards, I didn't even know this was a thing, but it felt good to just give people awards. So I think that I love this course because it kind of gave me some justification for my randomness. I didn't think that this was actually a science. I thought it was just because I thought it was funny, and I liked seeing people laugh. Like, that makes me laugh, and I like being random.
Yeah, I think this course kind of reaffirms a lot of stuff that you and I already do, and then it kind of highlighted areas that I might be struggling with that I should also pay more attention to help improve my happiness.
It also made me make sense. You know, this course helped me make sense of the things that, like you say, that we naturally do, that why they make me feel good. Like, now I know why.
And now you want to continue doing it because you know it's helping you and helping those around you.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Okay, what's the next one?
So then chapter 4 dives a little deeper into cooperation and reconciliation, coming together for a common goal, and that your community can thrive and be more successful when you come together. They had a really interesting study that children's health, high school graduation rates, life expectancy, all of that increased when there's healthy unity in a neighborhood, when a neighborhood has a good bond, and people are connected and are willing to cooperate with one another.
I like the part about forgiveness and reconciliation. I think one of the things I've learned as a big feeler and emotional person is that I hold on to people that hurt my feelings. And what that does is that, you know what they say, they're living rent free in your head, and
taking up space.
And so I'm really working on that. It kind of actually that goes along more with the gray rock than the gray rock was about like having emotional reaction to people that hurt you. And when I say, you know, when people are actually in the act of hurting me, I can just say gray rock, and really calm myself down and just react very flat, because, you know, some people that hurt you kind of want to feed off your energy and want you to react just as bad back to them. So I use that. But then in regards to past hurt and reconciliation, you know, they discussed how holding on to trauma is not good for you. You know, it doesn't mean when you forgive someone else, and they said this very well too, it's like because you forgive someone else does not negate the actions that they were done to you, does not say it was acceptable or okay. It doesn't say like, oh, someone hurt me, that's fine, it's cool. But it's also letting them know, no, it's not cool, but I'm not going to hold you in a bad way for the rest of my life. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go out of my thought process. I'm going to let you go and free you from being in my head. And that was a very powerful thing that they were saying about one video was this guy, he got beat up and jumped, and he met the guy that jumped him years later, and they became, you know, colleagues and went around the country talking about forgiveness. And the guy that even did the hurtful act was beating himself up still, and the other guy let it go. But he also said, when I let it go, I didn't say I didn't say that his actions were acceptable. I forgave him as a person, but
I was able to move on from that.
And I still hold him accountable for his actions. I think that I still tell him that, you know, what you did wasn't cool, but also I realize that you're a person and you need to move on too. And I think one of the things that really helped me is like that too. Like, it also gives you a little bit of power. Like, if someone hurts you, or vice versa, either you let them go by saying, okay, you hurt me, I was upset, and now I'm not upset no more. But on the flip side, if you know you hurt someone, you reach out to them and apologize.
I think it was both sides. Yeah, that makes me think of one of my favorite quotes. no one can make you feel inferior without your own consent. I believe
Yes.
Eleanor Roosevelt said that.
Yes.
And it's very similar how I choose to let someone, let me rephrase. If someone does something that's harmful,
Yes.
I can still choose to move on from it. I do not want to give them the authority to hurt me again. I do not want to give them the power to hold that over me, to make me feel inferior. With my own mentality and my own choice, I can take the high road. I can separate myself from the past event and just focus on the future, focus on where I want to move next. Acknowledge that I was hurt, acknowledge that that's not okay, those actions are not okay, but also be aware that there are some things that you can't change. Some people in the world are just bad people.
Yes.
You can't change everyone around you.
Yes.
Understand how to be aware of those people and try to separate yourself from them.
And also, like I said, I think that it also you should still, just because you forgive and you're kind, does not mean you should not advocate for yourself. Oh, it's okay. No, you should still confront things and say, speak out against injustices and say, that was not correct and I don't appreciate that, or this is how I felt. But then after that, I think the main point is, after you stand up for yourself, you don't just keep on going at that person, you kind of move on, but you still stand up for yourself. So what was the action? I remember one for me that I did particularly.
That activity, I think, was to write down someone or something that happened in the past that you can't forgive, and try to put your thoughts down on paper about the actions that hurt you and how you're able to learn from those and move forward. And
I like that too. I did that one. I actually did that one and wrote out some things and some actions that people hurt me. And then I just made a conscious decision to say, it's over with and I'm done. And most times you're not going to see that person again. And then if it's a significant person that you see over and over again, you just like I said, I'm going to use that new strategy called Gray Rock, and just kind of like Gray Rock and not respond back. Stand up for myself appropriately, but also don't come back with the same energy or anger or whatever. Just kind of speak facts and be very flat and stoic.
And it's so tough. You have to continue to work on it.
Yes,
forgiveness and
all these things that we did. Me and Christy got these certificates, but don't mean that we're perfectly happy, right? You know what I'm saying?
We're still a work in progress ourselves.
These are just tools. I think these are tools and things that are going to help us in that journey, and it's a lifelong journey. So, just because we speak on this class doesn't mean that we are perfect. But it also, I think this class equipped us with a lot of tools to help us get better.
Absolutely. So Chapter 6 talks about having a mindful awareness and being non-judgmental about the present reality, whether it be your thoughts, your feelings, the environment, your sensations, and that you're being mindful in the present and you're not thinking about the past or the future.
I'm gonna go with a little bit of mindfulness is like that present, what's going on right now. And I like the one that they said just about sensations, like what do I feel right now? What do I feel in my head? What do I feel in my body? And I haven't done it, so I'm not going to say, but I need to learn how to do meditation. I did it for a couple times, but I need to set it straight. Do you actually meditate?
Not often. I have before.
Me too.
And when I do set aside the time to meditate, I really enjoy it, and it's something that I want to practice a little bit more. Mindful meditation is the art of changing your brain, the state that your brain is in. So they talk about neuroplasticity and how your brain is, the function of your brain is meant to change. So when you're trying to meditate, you're trying to zone out all the other thoughts that are going on in your brain and just focus on being present in the moment. And so when your mind is wandering, that's when you want to snap out of it and draw yourself right back into the present moment and just have a clean mental state.
Yeah, I remember some guy said that a wandering mind. I don't remember, there was the YouTube video in one of the video series about wandering minds could be positive and negative based on where it wanders. I need to watch that one over again to quote that correctly. But one of the things too, I'm working on mindfulness and being in the present, is eliminating distractions. I don't know if that was on there. As people know, I'm on my smartphone way too much, and so I'm learning actively what strategies can I do to deplug. So now I've implemented, every blue moon, I just take my SIM card out and put it in a flip phone and go back to a basic phone where people can still contact me, because I do realize there's been times where my wife has had to check me. It's like, get off your phone and be with the boys, be present with us as a family. So being present in the moment is a struggle. for me, especially with my attention span, and like I love stimulus and so much. I love noise. I definitely would have a hard time in a perfectly quiet room. If you ask my wife, it's either something I'm talking, I'm listening to music, I'm on my phone, I'm looking at something, I'm watching a video, and I have a really hard time just doing nothing. So.
And they talk about how your mind wanders 47% of the time, and it has a negative impact on you because a lot of times your mind wandering leads to worries or anxiety or regret because you're focusing on the past or you're focusing on the future. So that's why the being present, the mindful awareness on the present moment can really help you. It's something that you should work on and try to improve on because it is something that can help with your longevity of life.
100%. All right. And what was the exercise for that one?
That one was to choose to either do a mindful meditation, a breathing exercise, just taking 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or doing a full body scan of trying to be aware of your senses from head to toe. You just slowly move up. You start with your fingertips. You can start with your toes and go up or down and try to feel the sensation in every part of your body.
No shade, but I didn't do that one. I can't. I ain't gonna
It's
lie.
hard to sit still.
It's hard to sit still. I need to probably do that one the most then. That's the one I need to do the most.
And then there was also a really interesting article that I liked, how they're trying to implement mindful meditation into schools.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And I thought that was so fascinating because it could really help settle kids down as they're learning and they're running around on a playground. Then they can come back into the classroom and just take a few deep breaths and teach them how to regroup their thoughts, how to focus, how to be in the present moment so they can really get the most out of their learning in the schools.
Yeah, I see a lot of things about eliminating detention and using yoga and
it's really interesting.
Yoga and mindfulness instead of detention. I think that's a great idea.
So then chapter 7 talks about mental habits.
Yeah.
Ooh, this was a big one. They talk about having self-compassion and how you should be kind to yourself and try to avoid having perfectionism or materialism.
Yes.
Because you really just want to be kind to yourself.
I gravitated to this chapter really well. Quite honestly, being Positive Philter that I'm way harder on myself than I am on others. And I think that they are trying to like say some exercises like, would you talk to anyone else the way you talk to yourself? And sometimes I think about how I talk to myself, like, dang, I would never say half of the stuff I say to others that I say to myself. You're not good enough. Like, could you imagine like walking around saying to someone else, like, you're not good enough? But we do that to ourselves all the time. So that chapter really, really gravitated to me. And, I think it aligns with so many different factors. I'm not going to lie. I think I did an episode earlier about one thing I've always struggled with, I continue to, is imposter syndrome. Meaning, they're going to find out that you're a fake or phony, that you do not deserve the achievements that you have, that you don't belong in certain circles, maybe more like professional circles. Like, they're going to catch on. At any moment, people are going to think I'm a fraud. And that thing is really aligned with that mental habit. Like, really, how do you combat imposter syndrome? And some exercises I do, I don't think that's on there, but some things I do is I have to really just reframe and look at my resume, and not to say the stunt, but like, okay, you really got a degree, like you did this, like you didn't just pass through, you actually took tests and completed assignments, writing out accomplishments, setting goals and then looking back at my goals, because I could say, well, I'm hardworking, and whether I belong here or not, I worked really hard. So that one really stuck me because like I said earlier, some of the things I say to myself are things I would never say to someone else. And that's not fair, right? You need to be just as kind to yourself as you are to others. And
they talked about how to set goals to have greater happiness as well. And one of the things they talked about was to have intrinsic goals, which are internal goals that drive your purpose and connection to the world, as opposed to having extrinsic goals, which are external facing, materialistic goals, trying to have a higher brand name as opposed to really focusing on what's inside of you.
Yeah, I think individual goal setting helps you stay in your lane and not compare yourself to others. Along with the imposter syndrome, I think we already know that social media exacerbates this, because when you look on social media, you think everyone's stunting, everyone's doing their thing, and then you start giving that negative dialogue to yourself that you're not keeping up. And so if you set individual goals and stay in your lane, you don't need to worry about keeping up with someone else. You're keeping up with yourself. So I think this is definitely something I gravitate to, and I think goal setting is one of my biggest things that's really helped me, is that I say I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then make sure I do X, Y, and Z, and say no matter what other people think of that goal I set for myself, I did it, I completed it, and I need to be a little bit more forgiving with myself. And I think it also talks about forgiveness too. Like, you know, we just had a whole chapter on reconciliation and forgiveness, but people are not very likely to forgive themselves for their past transactions and transgressions. And so are you, you know, is that negative thing living rent-free in your head too, you know? So allowing yourself to learn about a thing in the past, what you learn, what will you not do again, and then let it go.
And I think the activity for this chapter, if I'm remembering correctly, was to write a letter to yourself about the good things in your life, the good things about your personality and your quality, so that you can always look back on it when you're feeling down.
And it's so interesting, like you said, there's some of these exercises I already did, so I didn't even do it for this one. But I did write a letter at the beginning of the year, beginning of 2019, that I'm going to open in December. And in that letter, I said, in 2019, at the end of this year, you would have done X, Y, and Z. And I wrote that letter, and I closed it. So I kind of don't remember what I wrote about my goals. And I think that's good. I think I want to be genuinely surprised. And I think I'm gonna do that exercise every year on the first of the year. Say at the end of X, you know, this year you did this, because I think that's a great exercise to keep yourself accountable to yourself, and also be pleasantly surprised. I think I'm going to be happy. Maybe I knocked some things off my list I never thought I did, and I'll be pleasantly surprised with myself and happy. So that's a great exercise. Write a letter to yourself, talk to yourself, or maybe even send a voicemail. Send up a voicemail on your phone and record it for yourself, and and say nice things. I think it aligns with that. The other exercise it aligns with in that 5-minute journal is that affirmation part every day, like I am. And so sometimes I just say things like, I am the man, you know, or I am a good father, I am this, and I switch it up. I try to think of a new I am every day.
Right. So then we're going to move on to chapter 8, which was about gratitude, which ties in with having compassion for yourself and being grateful for the things that happen in your life and the things that happen to you. Yeah.
I think even having a growth mindset, like if you're grateful, you can look at past bad things and say, well, in a grateful mindset, I'm glad I grew out of it, or I got out of it, or I'm grateful I learned X, Y, and Z about it. So yes, you can even learn and be grateful for bad things, because you can be grateful that you got out of that bad thing, or you learned something from that bad thing. Definitely having a sense of thank you for an insert anything. You can flip it, and you can turn anything into saying, I'm thankful for X, Y, and Z. And that's a good mindset to have.
The way I frame gratitude a lot is that the world does not owe me anything. I'm just another human being on this earth with the other millions and billions of people on this earth. That me being present in this moment, in this time, makes I'm no better or different than anyone else. And so I want to be thankful for having this life, thankful for having the opportunity to meet so many new people and learn from their perspectives. And it helps me whenever I'm feeling down, thinking about, I'm grateful that I had a meal today. I'm grateful that I have water to drink. Little things like that can really help bring me out of a funk and just remind me that it's okay to just take it easy, take a step back, and focus on the basics. Focus on the fact that you are here, present today, and breathing.
I also like that thing that say the world don't owe you nothing. Either you got to go out there and earn it, or just be happy that you got it and be grateful that it's a part of your life, because no one's entitled to any of this stuff. You know, as you said, these legs that we got that we can walk on. There's people out there that are in wheelchairs. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's entitled to that. No one's entitled to the air we breathe. We have clean air to breathe. And no one's entitled to, the houses we live in, because there's people that don't have houses. So, like, all the things that we've got, there's certain things that people don't have. you know? Like, if you really think about what you have, look at the people that don't have that, and vice versa, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that you may want that, you know, someone else wants. I don't know. It's like we all want something, but we don't realize that we already have certain things. And I always thought about that the other day. Like, there's things that I just take for granted that people would die to have.
Right.
They would, like, literally go to war and fight and risk their life to have. And it could be something as simple as clean water to drink.
And when you have that awareness of other things going on in the world, you can realize that you really do have a lot to be grateful for.
I mean, there was a joke. Like, I think one of the videos was, we always expect, once we get something, we expect that that's what we have. So, like, they said, hey, we're on a plane, we got free Wi-Fi, and then the Wi-Fi don't work, and then you're complaining. Like, didn't you just realize that, like, we just got Wi-Fi? Like, if you didn't get the Wi-Fi or not, you're still on a plane going to where you need to go. That's what I would think about. Like, I'd be like, okay, I ain't got no Wi-Fi, but I'm still going where I got to go.
I'll have Wi-Fi when I get there. It's not going away forever.
Well, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, you're on a plane to go from A to B. Like, you're not on a plane for Wi-Fi.
Right.
You know, like, think about that. Or, you know, like, I hate that. I swear I hate the hashtag first world problems.
So bad.
Because the only reason why I say that is because I hate it because it's true. I mean, I kind of hate it, but also
it's really cringeworthy when you see those.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like it's like corny because, like, you're complaining about stuff like, yeah, it's cringy. Like, first world problems, you know, the Starbucks barista didn't spell my name right. I'm like, who cares? At least you get coffee and money to buy the coffee. I usually say, at least you, like, I think that's my main sentence. I think that's my way I'm going to fill it in, to be grateful for the things I have. At least you have. And then realize how many times you say, at least you have that. I remember my parents used to joke with me and say, you know, at least you got food on the table, unlike the starving kids in Africa. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that's a stereotype, you know, but, you know, those commercials we see. But then I thought about it. On the flip side, they're actually 100% correct. Because there's, you know, I have dinner, at least have dinner. And I'm talking about, I don't want to eat these vegetables. Well, now you want to eat these vegetables because someone out there, someone doesn't have no vegetables.
It's an opportunity that you have and other people don't.
Yeah, so I think that, I don't know if we coined it yet, but at least say this to yourself, at least I have, and insert anything. And you'll realize how much you have that other people don't. At least I have working legs. At least I have friends.
How can you, it's the, but. It's the, that's a problem. Yeah, you might be complaining about something, but
someone else
flip it to a more positive note.
Yeah, I'm going to say that too. Like, when I really think about, I'm going to think about that too. I'm going to use this mental exercise for myself. If something I have is not working or broke or something like that, at least I'm going to say something like, at least I have something else as an alternative. Or I say, at least I have this, like, at least I have friends.
At least I have my family.
At least I have my family. At least I have a job.
Be thankful for that.
You know, at least I have a paycheck. At least I have a way to provide for my family. So at least, do the at least too.
And the activity for this week was similar to the first week with the 3 good things, but this one was to write down things that you're grateful for. And so it kind of takes it a step further than these are 3 good things that happened, but why did they happen? It encouraged you to list the actions that caused the good things to happen. It encouraged you to write down the benefit that you got from someone else providing for you, because that's what you're grateful for. You're grateful for the action or the provision from someone else, from the world around you, and really to understand why you're grateful for that.
Excellent. I do that. I think it just aligns with my 5-minute journal. All that. I think that journal is comprehensive. I think they actually must have studied happiness because all these exercises ingrain these concepts
in your journal.
For sure.
So then the 9th chapter is about awe, wonder, and beauty. And I thought this was a really interesting chapter. It also talked about the act of play and how it's really important to have unstructured free time to go out and have fun and play again like you're just a little kid, because it brings joy to you. And when you have joy filling inside of you, it'll trickle out to other people around you.
All right, so I guess it justifies me being a big-ass kid. Because you know me, I love playing Pokemon. So I think what I took from this in general is I tell people, you know that Bible verse, Christ asks us to be childlike but not childish. I don't know, it's not even a real, like, I didn't say it quote for quote.
Right, along those lines.
But point is, play, happy, wonder, Little kids wonder about everything. They ask
They
questions.
have that curiosity.
Kids think everything is cool. You show a kid like an airplane, they're like, it's an airplane.
Everything's great.
Everything's great.
Inspires them.
Everything is cool. And I think that's the childlike mindset. And then childish is like being petty and throwing tantrums. That's childish. But I think that there's times where I really enjoy being a kid again. And I usually you don't go out there and have kids for this, but I love the opportunity for me to be a big kid with my kids. I mean, I love my son when he watches Spider-Man. I love watching Spider-Man with him. I love being a kid.
That's the exact reason why I really enjoy babysitting, is because they have that untouched wonder in the world, and everything is so pure to them, and everything they just want to have fun. They don't want to be crying and whining. They want to do whatever they can to enjoy their time and to laugh, to run around. And I'm similar with that. I'm the youngest in my family, so anytime I can pester my sisters in a loving, caring, playful way, just to poke fun and make them laugh, I will do whatever I can just to be weird and be goofy around them, because I know that they'll love me no matter how I act.
Yeah, and also I think additionally, along with that too, is that you don't need to be a kid. You don't need to have kids to be like that. Like, there's no such thing as being too adult to XYZ, right? Who's to say you can't play putt-putt golf or go ride go-karts or play Pokemon or like cartoons?
Or dress up for Halloween.
For Halloween.
Anything.
Or, like, there's no way, to age out of stuff. Like, I mean, you should probably age out of, like...
It's time and place. Know your awareness and know where you're at when you should play and when you shouldn't play.
Okay, maybe I need to learn that. But at the same time, the things that you liked I'm just trying to say, the things you liked as a kid, there's no such reason to not age out of it. If you still like certain cartoons and roller coasters and fun things that gave you wonder as a kid, there's no reason to age out of that. Like, you still should be able to enjoy that as an adult. And that gives, if it brings you back to that sense of awe and wonder and joy, still do those things. Still listen to the music that you listened to when you were a kid and a teenager. Still, like I said, still play the activities, still stay involved in sports and stuff like that. And also have a wonder of the world. Always be a curious learner. I've learned that when I go places, like new places, and I look around at nature and stuff, I'm like, wow, this is crazy, man. Like, I love looking at, I love traveling, period.
Yeah.
Traveling is awesome. And I think that gives you a sense. I think the reason why I like traveling is because you get a chance to actually see what's different and wonderful and new. That's pretty cool.
And that's sort of what the homework assignment for that week was, to go on a nature walk. They talk about how seeing nature can inspire you. It can help, having a sense of awe can really help change the world, because it can help you have a different perspective and realize that there's something greater out there than just yourself.
So I just go for walks all the time with my dog and my son wearing them. But also additionally, when I go out of town, sometimes I just roam. Like, first of all, I'm like that guy that always gets lost on purpose. And like, when I go out of town, like, people are like, where's Phil? They got to call me. I just disappear. I love just going on walks. I love just like, now I need to probably be a little bit more safe about it and the time of day that I do this exploration. But I love to just walk and just look, people watch. So, because it's just so interesting to see what places are different and how they look.
And that's one of the reasons I personally don't enjoy driving.
Yeah.
I would rather sit in the passenger seat or sit in the back seat and just stare out the window.
I do that all the time.
For plane
too.
rides, I can just stare out the window, because I think it is so cool just to see things from a different perspective. And again, if I am really in a negative state of mind, if I'm able to pick out a beautiful tree or a beautiful leaf and all the colors that are outside, it can really help me get that perspective that that there's other things beyond what's going on in my brain. And if I can just detach from those negative emotions by latching onto something in my environment, it can help me snap out of it.
For sure. All right, so we're not going to do our shot for shot today. We're just going to do a recap. I think the quick recap before we go into we're going to answer some questions from our listeners. But the recap was, this course was excellent. This course actually gave you tangible things that you could do. This course had wonderful videos and some follow-up things. I actually bookmarked some of my favorite YouTube videos out of that thing, inspirational videos. I say I love it. 2 thumbs up. I definitely suggest it, sponsor it, whatever, endorse it, whatever. I say my only caveat is, man, if they could fly me out and I could be in a course with the people doing these exercises with them and having small group discussions with them in person, I think that would take it up a notch. So anyone that's at like UC Berkeley, man, you're blessed, because I would actually, now, if I even knew this was like a I know I'm learning now about positive psychology and all these different studies. Man, if I had a lot of money, I wish I would do it, or time. But I think this course is good enough for me, because I ain't trying to go back to school.
And we did try to have a sense of community and discussion around this course. We had a Facebook group, and we did have some good conversations on topics that we were learning about. But there is something different in the in-person interactions.
Yeah.
The group discussion definitely added value, but I agree it would be another level if we could interact with people in person live while we're learning them.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate technology for bringing opportunities like this to our like we're able to take this course online. So I'm totally grateful for that. But I just also know the type of learner I am. I'm a brick and mortar kind of guy. I don't think I would have thrived in any college environment or learning environment if it was solely online. Like an all online program, I would struggle. So, So we're gonna finish up the episode and take these questions from the listeners. Maybe we're gonna start with Hillard first.
Okay.
It's about well-being. So Hillard, this is my old friend. This is my not old friend. This is my closest friend. But he has a question about well-being, and he says, "How do you think 6ix9ine is doing in jail with his well-being?" So if you don't know rap, that's Tekashi 6ix9ine. And also, my friend Hillard is trolling me, but I hope he's doing okay. Shout out to Tekashi 6ix9ine. All right, the next question.
So moving on. The next question is from Anne.
Yeah.
And she asked, what are some tools you use to stay positive on a blah day? And this is so relevant to the entirety of the course that we just went through.
I mean, blah for me, I think one of the things that helps me with a blah day is, this 5-minute journal, please sponsor me. But that, writing about what I did, I look back and say what I do, setting goals for that day, that's going to be a blah day. And then finding out what makes it blah. So is it blah because the weather's nasty and I can't go outside, so what can I do indoors? Is it blah because I'm lonely? If it is blah because I'm lonely, I'll reach out and call or text someone, or just try to reach out and have some kind of social engagement. So find out what makes that day blah, and just give yourself one tangible action to address that blahness.
I would take it a little bit, I'd break it down a little bit. If I'm having a blah moment, because I have a lot of blah moments in an overall good day, if it's just one moment, maybe I'll look outside at some trees, go get some sunshine, take a quick walk. I might listen to some good music, listen to something that's going to make me laugh, YouTube some cat videos, I don't know, something that's cute. But if it's a whole day where I haven't been able to get out of my funk, then maybe I'll do a gratitude journal, recall all the good things that happened to me that day, or I'll even call up a friend who lives far away and that I haven't caught up with in a while, and talk with them and try to, again, detach myself from the moments that I'm replaying in my head or the negative thoughts that are in my head, and I'll detach myself from those by connecting with someone in my social connection that can help me realize that there's more beyond just myself.
And also, like, I try to think about, too, if it's like a full blah day, what can you do at the night to kind of end it off, to finish it off? So if it's a full blah day, can you watch a show on Netflix to end your day on a good note? Can you, talk to your partner and have a nice conversation? And if you have kids, can you just put the kids to bed and maybe spend a little bit of time together before you both go to bed? So you can finish that day on a good note. And also just in regards that one blah day is not a whole blah life, maybe, hopefully see that pattern that this one blah day doesn't turn into a blah week or a blah year or a blah month. Because if it turns into a blah year or month, that could be signs that you maybe are depressed and you need some bigger help. So just keep mindful of that blah day and hopefully see if it's turning into an overall longer thing, as you said, a bigger issue.
So then the next question is from Detron.
My man, Detron.
And he asked, what are 3 cardinal life principles that can never be violated?
Okay, so I guess these are like my golden rules, or like my standards I set for myself. I'm going to talk about, I guess my main things is, I go with the golden rules, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That's one of my main cardinal rules, like, put out that energy, man. Don't be spiteful and hurtful. And if you are, just don't have the energy to interact with you. It's just not the people I vibe with. One, I think that's one of my cardinal principles. Another cardinal principle is, what am I doing to leave an impact on others and make this world a better place? And it doesn't have to be anything grand. Like, I don't have to be president of the United States, but what are my actions that I'm doing at this day that I'm doing to leave an impact? And so when you say what can never be violated, like, am I doing detriment to that? Like, is that like, is my actions leaving overall a sense of negative impact? So that can't be violated. So do unto others, leave a positive impact rather than a negative one. And don't rape and kill people. I mean, those are like
be a good human.
Yeah, but those are like legit the worst. Like, if you steal from someone, obviously you can either give them their money back or,
that's an intentional act
they
that
can get it
you
back.
should just not.
Yeah, but like, I think the things is there's no coming back. If you're a man or a woman, whatever, and you sexually assault someone, they're never gonna get that back. That you stole something from them, a sense of security or something like that they're never gonna get
and
back.
you made a choice that's gonna negatively impact someone else.
Forever, though. That's a forever one. Like, you can actually ask you can ask for forgiveness for all these, but the healing there is way worse.
Their life is altered because of that one act.
And then the murder one is like, then you did something another permanence. Like, no one can come back. You took someone's life that they can come back. So that's a very firm. I think anything else, a lot of actions toward others could be forgived. I mean, they all could be forgiven. That's what we're talking about. But I think they could be reprimanded. Like, if you steal a couple money, you can get the people's money back. If you lie to someone, you can apologize and learn not to lie. But those other things, those are, like, as you said, those have lasting effects. So it's mainly like, think about your actions and the consequences on the footprint that you leave on others is very powerful, and it can have a lot of weight. And like I said, a lot of the things I actively think about this, like that golden rule too. And I know it's generic, but it really does help me reframe things. Like, do I really want to be treated like this? And if the answer is no, then I'm not going to treat someone else that way, because it doesn't feel good.
My 3 golden rules that I live by. The first one I learned from my mom at a very early age, to kill them with kindness, be nice to people. And another one is, oh man, I just had it. I guess I would say live with grace, that your actions will always be perceived externally. So you want to work hard, you want to be kind, whatever your actions are, other people will pick up on that, and that becomes associated with who you are as a person. And then my last one, I would say, enjoy life. Really try to have fun when you can.
How can it be violated? Let's say principles that can never be violated. How can not having fun be violated? I guess, you know what I would say? Don't rob people of their joy. Like you said, pursue fun, but don't purposely rob people of their joy and their fun because you just want to be mean.
Yeah, and I'll say, we've talked about this before, that's something that's really impacted me. I was told one time that my positivity and my outlook on life made someone else mad. When they saw me that day and they were in a bad mood, but they saw my positivity, it just made things worse. And that really took a long time for me to move on from, because then I started taking on a more serious approach to life, and I wasn't as carefree as I used to be. I wasn't as happy-go-lucky as I used to be. It really made me think, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be happy. Maybe I'm not supposed to be positive and smiling and in a good mood every day. Maybe I'm supposed to be more serious when I approach this person or the situation. That was something that's taken me a long time to address and try to redirect my thought on that.
Trash. I remember I got the same feedback. Just because you're happy and upbeat does not mean you're not serious. I mean, me and Christie, we are upbeat, happy, laughing and joking. But when things need to get done, we do that too. So you could be task-oriented, you could be driven. You can actually knock out all the goals. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to meet this quota. I'm going to get this amount of sales and money, all that numbers that people care about, but you can do it with a smile on your face. I mean, who's to say that I can't shovel, manure I'm just joking, but shovel manure at manure plant with a smile on my face don't mean I'm not shoveling manure, right? Like, I'm still getting the work done, and it's a nasty task. Like, just because you're doing
You're
that,
accomplishing something, you're making it easier for someone else so that when they come through, they don't have manure that they have to walk through.
Exactly.
You're contributing, you're being helpful.
And
So if you look at those things, what you value in life, then you can make anything worthwhile.
And I only use manure as a thing, like, it's a job, it's nasty. Most people will think that you shouldn't be smiling when you do it. But who's to say that when you're doing it, who's to say that you can't smile when you do it? Mm-hmm. Because maybe you're happy. Maybe doing that job, you're paying for someone and helping someone. Like you said, you're helping someone else that don't have to deal with that.
You're thinking about the money you're bringing home to your family, so that makes you happy. Mm-hmm.
So
it's all about perspective.
I think the rule that we took out of that one is because someone else is having joy, the violated part is don't rain on my parade. Mm-hmm. My happiness does not take away from my seriousness, or my happiness and joy and laughter does not make me less of a productive worker. Mm-hmm. And also, I think that you've learned this over time, that we don't have a responsibility for someone else's happiness. Mm-hmm. We have a responsibility to help them and give them tools, but the responsibility is on them.
You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I'm not going to say just because you're unhappy, deal with it. Like, I will try to give you some tools and help you. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to have to be, it's a
personal decision.
You got a personal decision. Yeah, thank you, D-Tron. That's some good ones.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, shout out to Christie for keeping me on point. Shout out to all the listeners. I hope you continue to stay with us. Shout out to edX and UC Berkeley and the Greater Good Center and DK.
If anyone has more questions about the course, if there's any specific topic that we discussed today that you want to learn more about, drop it in the Google form and we'll talk about it, because we have more knowledge from this course. This was just a snapshot of what we learned. This was 8 weeks of extensive learning, so we have more to talk about if you want us to elaborate on any of these topics.
Yeah, we're going to put the link to the course in the show notes.
Highly encouraged that you take it.
And the Facebook group that we made, in case you want to join that and join our discussion that we did and all that. And
Absolutely.
I think those are the main things we'll put in the show notes.
Yep. Check us out. Join us on Facebook.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page. Spreading positivity movement. Thanks for listening.